Good evening, everybody. Right. Welcome to the February 9th, 2026 Board of Education meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Andy, Martin,
Here.
Monsell,
Here.
Parsons, Eckhart, Roller,
Here.
Savage Williams.
Here. Thank you. All right. So we have a quorum. So I'm happy to see that. The first item on our agenda is comments from the public. Dr. Davis, do we have any comments from the public?
We do not have any comments this evening.
Okay, thank you. The next item is written communication. Do we have any written communication?
We have no written communication this evening.
Okay, all right. The next item is items for information. We're there, and we are going to hear the data quarterly update on attendance, discipline, student involvement, and well-being.
All right, so Dr. McNeil, principal, is going to come and share some updates on attendance and things, and is going to lay some groundwork for the ideas that she has and about how to address attendance and tardies and things of that nature as we get closer to the end of this year and the start of next year. So turn this over to Dr. McNeil.
Okay, is this right? Okay, perfect. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. So tonight I'll provide a brief second quarter update from our data dashboard. This dashboard is one of our key tools for monitoring system-level trends across the school year and ensuring alignment between data, decision-making, and student support. So I'll begin by grounding us in what the dashboard includes and then narrowing our focus for tonight. So as you know, the quarterly dashboard includes the following sections: academic supports, attendance, discipline, student services, and special education services. This presentation will focus on our second quarter attendance data. This will focus on our second quarter attendance data because it's a leading indicator that's closely tied to academic and social emotional outcomes. So I'll start with unexcused absences and what we're seeing at the systems level. So this slide shows cumulative unexcused attendance data from quarters 1 and 2. During quarter 2, 91% of students had less than 5% of their total absences logged as unexcused absences. And this has remained consistent since quarter 1. So that consistency suggests stability in our attendance patterns for the majority of our students, which helps us do some really good planning because we know what to expect in terms of our data. Next, I'll share how we actively monitor this data beyond this quarterly snapshot. So in addition to quarterly reporting, attendance is monitored weekly at the school level. I work closely with the Director of Student Services through our shared leadership of the MTSS team, and we regularly drill down into our unexcused absence data so that we can identify emerging concerns early. And that allows us to quickly flag students who may need outreach or intervention, and this goes through our SST model. Second quarter trends consistently range from 81 to 85% of students with no unexcused absences week over week. And most students with unexcused absences only have one within a week. Additionally, only 1.5 to 2% of students have 2 or more unexcused absences weekly. So this data has also informed a review of our no credit or NC policy, which assigns no credit when a student accrues more than 6 unexcused absences in a single course within a semester. Our review of this policy is driven by concerns about inequitable outcomes and a disparate impact on Black and brown students. So we're examining this policy for both its effectiveness and equity of the policy. Attendance, however, is more than absences alone. I'm sorry. I should have brought my water with me. That's why I keep stopping. I'm so sorry. I was trying to hold on.
No need.
Okay. Like I was saying, attendance, as you know, is more than just absences. Tardiness is another important layer of attendance that we track closely. During second quarter, 26 to 27% of students had 1 to 2 tardies. while weekly data shows that roughly 2/3 of students had no tardies at all. Monitoring this helps us address patterns before they escalate into larger attendance concerns. Also, looking at the data in this way, in terms of like the 2/3 of students who have no tardies, also help to inform some of our interventions and some of our practices that I'll talk about in the next slide. So this slide summarizes our current attendance and tardy intervention approach. So our primary focus is on Tier 1 within NTSS, emphasizing prevention, consistency, and strong systems that support students being in class and engaged in learning from bell to bell. Through MTSS root cause analysis and action planning, our team identified tardiness as a key area of focus and developed targeted action steps for both staff and students, including reestablishing clear expectations for recording and responding to tardies. We've implemented a tardy incentive, and that was done specifically to ensure that we're noticing when kids are doing the right thing. I call it catch kids doing the right thing, or catch kids doing good, if you will. But I think that's really, really important because oftentimes we focus on when students get it wrong and not enough on when they get it right. So we've also incorporated in some of our planning, we've incorporated feedback from the discipline committee. And we're also working on a plan to strengthen accountability through hall checks, which used to be called hall sweeps during passing periods. We shifted to the language of hall checks, actually due to feedback from the discipline committee. In addition to our assistant principal of educational services, our assistant principal of educational services is leading the development of a more focused enforcement plan for tardy to school procedures, because data shows that most tardies occur during first block, which might not be surprising because students are arriving to school late. Overall, these efforts are designed to reinforce positive habits while maintaining clarity and consistency for students, and shifting us toward prevention versus responsiveness. Well, not versus responsiveness, in addition to responsiveness, but not just responsiveness, or reactivity, if you will. So. That concludes the overview of my quarterly update. I want to open the floor now for any questions, if you want to dig deeper into anything that I've presented.
So thank you. You know, you actually did answer one of my questions I was going to ask when the tardies happen, but you said during first block.
Correct. We see a lot of tardies happening during block 1 and block 2, which is an orange day, blue day, but the first block of the day consistently.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So not as much during the day as students go.
Not as much as first block.
Yes.
During the day.
Well, yeah.
It occurs, not as much as first block.
Okay. Questions, board? Pat?
Thank you, this was really helpful. I'm wondering, like, do you have a rough number for those kids who are really either through tardies or unexcused absences are, they're really the kids you need to focus on? And I'm curious what that, even if it's a rough estimate of what that number is.
I'll say specifically for our unexcused absences, for example, like as you saw, we only had about between 1.5 to 2% of our kids who were tracking as being tardy week to week. Mm-hmm. However, what we see is, remember that 1.5 to 2% is of our entire student body. Mm-hmm. And so what that ended up, what that attributed to is around 100 and I want to say 174, unique students actually qualified for an NC, that policy I talked about a moment ago. Mm-hmm. That means they had 6 or more absences first semester. And so that gives you kind of like a little sense of how many kids that actually is. Right. But note that with the NC policy, it's based on course. So so one student could have 6 NCs for 6 different courses. Right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But that's why I said 174 unique students. So if you think about it, over quarter 1, 174 kids in our building were absent more than 6 times. Mm-hmm. And so, take that data as you will. Yeah. Some might see it as not as bad as it could be, or vice versa. But our goal is to have 100% of students in the building, of course, and 100% students in class on time. And so we're always diligently working to get to that 100% goal.
Right. I guess what I was trying to get at is oftentimes the number of students that we really have to go deep with and really be creative with isn't that much. Now, 174 is not small.
It's not, but when you think of the greater scheme of the entire
Yes.
student body,
Yes,
it's not large.
Yeah.
And that's why, but it does give us an opportunity to do some really tailored and focused work with our students
Yeah.
who are in that highest need, if you will, kind of category. But that's also why I wanted to start shifting the focus to the great majority of kids who are doing the right thing. And so the tardy incentive that we started this year focuses on students who are on time to class for an entire week. And then students who are on time to class for the entire month, they also get a larger prize. And so we've had students show some excitement around it. We've had students come to pick up their prizes with their friends, and they're like, "Oh, maybe I can get it next month." And so that's really cool.
That's cool.
And so I do want to be intentional around making sure that we catch kids doing right.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that's really great. What are some examples of like the Tier 3 interventions
Yeah.
that you're doing? I mean, it sounds like you're in the process of really digging in and trying to be, think of other
Yeah.
things. But what are some things we do right now?
Yeah, so we, one of the biggest things for for absences particularly, is we work with North Cook, and we have attendance advocates. They work on in our building, but they technically, are employed by North Cook. But they work wonderfully with our students, and they really integrated and acclimated to our culture, so much so that they attend our MCSS meetings. They are using our systems to track data. So Panorama, the system we use to track data, they're logging that and logging in that system and tracking that. And so that's been a huge support for us to make sure that we can focus on those students who aren't yet attending.
Right. That's great. Thank you so much.
No problem. The power of yet.
The power of yet.
They aren't yet.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense to keep in perspective your numbers and think about our bigger number, our broad number, because, the numbers can sound big, but what I like to think about when we look at this is that we know who the students are.
Absolutely.
So we know the students, and even those students that you're doing, that are in Tier
Yeah.
3,
Yeah,
I'm sure you know exactly who they are. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure this isn't their only issue.
yes.
So, there's-
And another support I'll mention at Tier 3, speaking to what you just brought up, is that we also have so we have SST teams, which is our student support teams. And so we have an SST3 meeting, which actually allows the team to bring in the parent and have an in-person meeting to focus on those student interventions and see like what can be done at home as a partnership. And so that's a level of care that we can provide because of those numbers that allow us to get really focused and drill down. Wonderful.
okay. Oh, Eva,
Go ahead, Eva.
Sorry, I just had one more comment
Don't
about that
apologize.
acronym SSC.
Yep.
There's a class at ETHS called SST,
Oh,
Sports-Specific Training.
oh, yes,
So that might get confusing.
yes. So student support teams,
Okay,
SST, student support team.
yeah.
Yes.
wonderful clarification.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yes, so many acronyms.
All right.
Other questions?
Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much,
Thank you.
Dr. McNeil.
All right, of course. Thank you.
Right. So next, we are going to hear our sustainability update.
All right, so I'm going to have John Crawford, our Director of Operations, come with his team, which he will introduce and take the board through our annual sustainability update. And I'm pretty excited about what John and the team's going to share tonight because regarding some of our sustainability efforts, what we're going to hear tonight is a huge step forward for this district. So take it away, John.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Board. Thank you, Administration. My name is John Crawford, Director of Operations and Sustainability. Tonight, we're going to present. We purposely structured our presentation tonight over the 2-year anniversary of the passing of the ETHS Green New Deal Sustainability Policy. So February 2024, this Board, this Administration supported the work that we're doing, and This is showing how we're moving that policy from words to action, right? First through our students, through operations, and later we're going to show how we're looking how we could scale this work responsibly. Student leadership in action. Over the 2 years, we've seen that it's very clear that the most meaningful sustainability work at ETHS is coming from our students. Tonight, 2 students are going to present on the work that they're doing and how that is impacting curriculum, operations, facilities, and community partnerships. Up first is Olin. Olin identified a practical need here on campus, went out and secured funding for it, and now is working across institutions to bring his vision to life. So Olin, take it away.
Echo. Okay, hello everybody. So, last year around this time, I came to you with a proposal for a bike shelter over the bike racks outside of door 2. This has been a need that many students have expressed, especially when they're wanting to ride their bikes when it's raining and snowing, but there's not that secure location for them to store those bikes. And so last year I was up here saying how we had applied for a few grants. We were waiting to hear back. Since then, a lot has happened. We've been able to receive a $5,000 grant to go towards this bike shelter. Once we received that grant, we were able to partner with some architectural students at Northwestern University, and with the help of their professor, they designed a rendering that looks something like that. Don't worry, it's not going to be all gray. We're going to add colors, we're going to add wood, we're going to add all that. So this kind of gives you a basic idea of the structure that we're going for, just something simple to protect the bikes from the rain, the snow, and then the wind coming out of the west. And so far, after partnering with the NU students, and they've gotten the design now looked over by their professor, we've moved forward with purchasing those materials. So far we've purchased phase 1 and phase 2. Once the weather warms up, John's maintenance crew will be able to go outside and actually put the concrete in the ground. And then once those first concrete pillars are in, we'll be able to partner with our geometry and construction programs to build some more of the roofing and whatnot. So we're super excited about this, and we're grateful for the support that we've received from the school to get this done. So thank you.
Thank you, Olin. Olin is basically running a capital project right now, so it's pretty good. Yeah. Up next is Izzy. Izzy is, besides athletics and her committees and clubs and running E-Town Sunrise and everything else she does, she still has time to track down every administrator needed to move her work forward. And she's also one of our students that scored a perfect 36 on her ACT last year. So, Izzy, here we go.
Hi, my name is Izzy. I am a senior. Great job, Olin. Shout out to Olin. Back in the fall, we organized in partnership with Climate Action Evanston, which I'm on the board of, one of the first ETHS Climate Action Accelerators. And out of that came a lot of really great student-led projects in partnership with administration, with John Crawford, and parents and everything. Right now, what E-Town Sunrise is focusing on most is partnering with Dr. Bavis to meet with all of our department chairs to make sure that we're integrating climate curriculum into our classrooms, not just as a checkbox during a freshman year biology, but that it's fully integrated as a lens of how are we approaching climate change holistically and how that affects our communities, and what can people actually do about that. Like, not to fearmonger, but to actually approach it without fear throughout all 4 years. So we're now meeting with department chairs to work on that. Hopefully we will have some kind of plan formed by the summer that can then be introduced in the fall to comply not only with our own ETHS sustainability plan goals, but also the new state law. And then also from that Climate Action Accelerator came another big student project. Are you going to talk about the trash audit, John? Okay, which I will pass off to John for.
Thank you, Izzy. This is a perfect transition. So there's 2 things that we knew coming into this school year. Number one was that we were going to be part of the Illinois Green Schools project. We're one of 20 schools across Illinois in the program. And the second one is we knew there was a huge opportunity for garbage can waste reduction throughout the school. Our grant specialist, Candace San Roman, piloted a program this summer in the business and accounts payable offices where she consolidated some waste bins, centralized them, and we were able to remove a bunch of them out of those offices. It worked flawlessly, so we knew there was an opportunity to bring this school-wide. Through Izzy's Climate Action Accelerator, we had a new group of enthused students who wanted to form a sustainability club. We thought it was a great opportunity to partner with them on this project. So in the fall, the Sustainability Club, Operations, and E-Town Sunrise partnered. We did an entire building, office, and classroom waste audit, and the results were pretty eye-opening. We realized that we could remove over 350 garbage cans throughout the building, which would divert over 64,000 plastic garbage liners from the landfill every school year. We launched this a couple, maybe 10 days ago, and the results so far have been mixed, to say the least. But once we explain to staff what is going on, it's hard to argue with the, you know, we're not asking anyone to take their trash home with them, right? There's still waste bins around the building. But so what 2 years have shown us, right? Student leadership is obviously very strong in driving measurable change. Cultural shifts are underway and are effective. We're seeing environmental and financial benefits. But these projects alone are limited, right? They're not going to get us to meet our policy goals. They're not going to get us to meet the City of Evanston's Healthy Building Ordinance goals. So we have to look at more of instead of projects, we have to look at systems, right? How are we going to upgrade our facilities? How are we going to, add renewable energy on campus? So for that, there's a tool school districts use across Illinois, right? It's Energy Savings Performance Contract. We have John Rocco here from Honeywell to explain to us what it is and what it isn't, and what a potential project here on campus would look like.
Okay. Well, thank you all for having me. Thank you guys for presenting with me here, too. So we got together with John and Kendra, and what we were talking about is we knew that y'all had worked towards a grant previously to bring some renewable energy to the district, and that was a priority, and we know the city has high priorities for that as well, right? So we thought this was a good opportunity for partnership. So the Energy Savings Performance Contracting law in Illinois allows schools to look at the money that they're currently using to spend on utilities. And if we can reduce the amount of dollars going out on utilities, those are the energy savings that we then can calculate over a 20-year term and allow us to accelerate projects, okay? So where the renewable energy really comes in is when you bring in the solar energy, it really reduces your electrical spend, which really increases those savings. In the calculations that we did, we have one of our engineers here, Bill. I can't take credit for this because he does all the numbers, and he looked at all your systems, and he looked at your capital project plans and all of those things. But we estimate between the renewable energy and other systems upgrades that are needed within the building that we can save approximately $600,000 a year that you guys are currently spending just for NICOR or, Constellation, right? Those companies where those checks go out to. By reducing that on the 20 years, we come up with a $12 million project. That $12 million actually pays for your renewable energy and then other things that don't quite pay for themselves, like fan upgrades and things like that are also needed to upgrade in the facilities. So the renewable energy is really a driver of those savings, which allows the pull-through of other capital projects to be moved forward under the contracting law in the state of Illinois. So if you think about it, what we're talking about at the $600,000 and the $12 million is if you guys just looked at the current operational budget and you did not make a change of a dollar over the next 20 years, everything that we could do with those $12 million, you would have just been paying to the utility companies anyway. So it is no impact on budget, no impact to the taxpayers, but being able to pull forward some of those capital projects. So there's a lot of opportunity that loops in here with the kids. We know you guys have done a lot in the STEM areas. Just a local advertisement, Bill, I think, told me we have 2 engineering jobs open in the area, if you guys have any graduates that are looking. But there's a lot of things that we can do with all of you guys have in place already in that CTE path, allowing the students to be a part of it, even in the construction phases and things like that. The IBEW has a renewable energy fund that comes out and talks about these careers that, are pretty well-paying jobs that aren't going away. So there's a lot of opportunity to engage students in the community in these projects and get them aware of the benefits, but also the career opportunities that they would be as well. So what we're working towards here is we've done a preliminary assessment. What we are going to be passing through to Kendra and John and the team is what we call an investment grade audit. What that does is takes the preliminary numbers that we've already put forward and formalizes them. So far, Bill, our engineer, has come through. We've worked with our solar engineer to put numbers together. What we will do, if the board feels that this is a good idea to explore the partnership, we will bring in contractors that will bid out those projects, give us real numbers, and then we will talk about the real numbers that would be guaranteed at construction. So we would guarantee the construction project gets done for the number that we all agree on, and we would also guarantee and agree on the savings. So the 20-year span of savings, the state of Illinois guarantees something called renewable energy certificates, which is a very significant portion of the savings. So basically, each unit that you create of renewable energy, the state pays for that. The federal tax credit up front, we can still get in under that time frame, and that comes off the top. The savings that we will just generate, we will take all of those numbers into consideration, and we will guarantee those numbers. So you will not have a change order. We won't come back and ask for more money on the construction side. And then if there's ever a shortfall in the savings that we guaranteed, Honeywell is on the hook to write a check for that. So if we say you're going to save $600,000 a year and you save $597, we have to write you a check for $3,000. Okay? We do this. We invented the business in 1986. We have $7 billion on our books, and we pay out less than $300,000 a year. Is that right?
1.1 billion.
There we go.
What we currently have.
1.1 billion.
Since 1986,
Se-
we've implemented 7 billion worth of savings.
Yeah. So we pay out a very low percentage. So our engineers, like Bill, are pretty good at their job, and we agree to a number that we can actually deliver. But if we don't, right, that's our issue and not yours.
Thank you, John. To that, we'll open up for any questions.
It's pretty exciting. It's very exciting. John?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds fantastic. It's something that we need to make these changes in order to see the larger impact. I wasn't quite following with the 12 million over the 20 years in savings. Like, where does the cash come from for that to pay the upfront costs? Is that?
Yeah, so there are a couple avenues that we're able to take. Honeywell has, if we were to partner with Honeywell for this, they have a finance arm that would be able to provide the upfront cash, and then we would use the savings throughout the 20 years in order to pay that back. Or we could do the route of like debt certificates, which we've utilized in the past for a number of capital projects. And so similarly, if we were to issue debt certificates this spring, then we would determine what we wanted the terms to be on the payback, and we would use the savings in order to make those payments.
And I can get into so when Bill did the analysis of your buildings, if we add the solar and we upgrade some of the other systems that were on your capital plans, he projected out that we could reduce your utility spend by 42%. So the $600,000 is reflective of 42% of what the district spends on gas and electricity in a year. So we're predicting that we can basically knock a 1.3-ish, and try to do math. We need Dale here. But if, we're basically knocking down almost half of what you would spend on your energy costs. So that's where that savings comes from,
Yeah.
and that's where the math, then works for the Illinois 20-year law.
All right, I think I'm good.
Does that make sense?
I guess I'm still trying to understand what the 20-year law means, like, but-
Yeah, it's a statute that's been in place,
Okay.
and its main purpose is to allow schools to accelerate facility upgrades. They noted that it's very difficult for public schools to take on these large capital projects.
Right.
Right? So this law was put into place to help schools use those savings, right? And if you think of it from a financing perspective,
Yeah.
if a company like Honeywell is guaranteeing debt, and that is money that you guys were already spending to the utility company, we're not changing your operating budget. We're not changing anything that you guys currently pay out. Within the same budget, we're actually able to use the money that we save over 20 years to do projects sooner.
Okay.
I'm going to take a stab at it.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, great.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to do a solar project that is in line with our goals for sustainability, and then in an effort to also reduce our energy consumption and cost, we would need upfront capital in order to do that, right? We need money to do it. We don't have the money to do it. However, we could borrow the money to do this project, and the money that we're going to save over the course of 20 years, we would use those savings to pay for the money that we borrowed today.
I see. So this provides the avenue for that borrowing, essentially.
Yes, because
And-
otherwise we would have no space in our budget
Right.
to pay it back, right? But the
Does-
savings will provide us
yeah.
that.
Like, what type of rates does that come at?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's all folded into the savings or diminishes it somewhat.
Of course, of course. So there is a cost for interest. We would have to see where the first, we would
Yeah.
have to determine that
Where
we
the
want to
market
move
is this
forward
year, yeah.
with this. And then we would figure out the timeline, and then we would go to the market and see what's the best rate that the district is able
Yeah.
to obtain.
So like in talking about the 42%, is that something that you would see immediately upon completion of the project? And what's that duration look like for the implementation of everything?
So.
Is that like 3 years? Is that span the 20? Is that
Yeah, so.
6 months?
Right. So the work that Honeywell does, they lay it out year by year, what they expect we would save each
Okay.
year. And those amounts those amounts would not start getting paid until after the completion of the project. So the way that the terms are set up, the project would be completed before we would make our first payment.
All right.
The construction period, yeah, and the construction period depends on, different factors and the systems that we're involving, right? And your
So
summer
we're not-
school
We're not
schedules.
that far enough out to know
Correct,
that.
correct. We will have all those conversations, and by the time we would come back to the board, we would have another, time to talk with Kendra, talk with John, and get a little more solid in those plans, get a little more solid of how we're going to go out and search out the financing and get you guys the best numbers to put in front. So those things are things in process that would happen over about
Understood.
the next month or so, too, that we would come back with more exact information
Yeah.
in those spaces. But the fact of the matter is we have a really strong opportunity here to do something that's really budget neutral.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, in order to upgrade the facilities now and finance it over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just to frame this conversation, Board, you have heard from John Crawford, from our wonderful students before about all of the different things that they've been trying to do here to further our sustainability efforts. And so we've been partnering with Honeywell to just kind of figure out what is possible here, and wanted to, bring you along and understand that this is just something that is available to us. But if we were to be moving forward with this, of course, we would have more concrete information.
Yep.
But this is kind of the start of the conversation, and with the sustainability update, it was a good opportunity for us to be able to talk about what we could make possible, make happen.
Yeah, that's great.
Liz?
Yeah, I was glad to see, just kind of looking at the current initiatives and the outcomes. I remember over the years, these are all things that you came in with ideas, and now I'm actually like seeing them happen, so that's great. I'm really happy to see that. And then I'm just looking at the sort of Honeywell, the recommended measures, and there's more things that you've talked about over the years, like we've talked about geothermal and solar and everything. I'm just kind of wondering, I know that was kind of a big dream that you all have had, and it was kind of out of reach. So are we really thinking that those types of things would be plausible, or is it still kind of like a long-term, like high-level goal? Because I know it's a big investment in the infrastructure and everything, so.
Yeah, no, the solar is definitely very plausible, and the geothermal is becoming more and more plausible. There's new technology that Honeywell is currently working on a project in Minneapolis where less wells are needed, so that drives the cost down significantly. We're also working on a grant to develop the plans that it would take to do the geothermal, which is a part 2 of that plan, which, is a $5 million grant that we'd also be applying for. So it's becoming more plausible. It's still not there, but it's not the $100 million that we were talking about just a couple of years ago. It's more like, what, $30 million now, right? Or 30-ish million, right? So it's,
I'm going to shake my head at the number.
yeah. So it's definitely becoming more plausible, but it's still not quite there. But,
Yeah, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great that every time we see you, we are definitely moving forward in all of these initiatives and outcome measures and everything, so just keep up the good work. I support all of this, so.
Thank you.
Pat?
Well, I'm glad I went last because I just wanted to thank you all. This is, first of all, Kendra and John for bringing this interesting possibility with Honeywell. I think it just shows how creative you all are, and that's really exciting. But I really want to thank the students. I vividly remember, John, when you first came, I don't remember his name, but he was a tall guy with blonde, kind of longish hair, and he blew us away with this plan that he had, with you and other students had developed, and to see it come to fruition and to see what you all are talking about just from 2 years ago when we got the original plan. First of all, I'm going to keep track of you guys because I need to vote for you for Congress or something because you're going places. But seriously, it's just amazing what you've done and what you're doing, and it's incredibly impressive. And John, I continue to be really appreciative of you for listening to the students, this came from the students, and you really embraced it and listened and have supported and grown this work. So it's just amazing, and it just really speaks to what a special place this is, that our students are really this empowered and passionate about the kinds of change that we need to make in the world, and that we have amazing staff and faculty that support that and help nurture it to expand for us and beyond. So just a lot of kudos for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I thank you for saying that, and thank you, board, for your questions and comments. I agree. I was just remembering where we started with this conversation a few years ago, and I would have never guessed we would be here today, but I am very impressed every time you come, bringing students, making sure they're involved and putting together these plans. I appreciate you wanting to get involved with our teachers in the curriculum and the department leaders to really make this a part of all of ETHS. So that's really impressive, and I can't wait to see more from Honeywell and see what happens with this. I don't know if it's a formal proposal at this point, but it's certainly a very creative idea, and wrapping my head around the money and how it would all get distributed and what we would save and how that would all happen, and thinking of several years out. May take me some time, but thank you for coming and thank you for being patient with us and answering our questions. I really appreciate that. And we'll continue to talk to Kendra as well.
And we will be providing more details to
Okay.
Kendra and John, and they will be able to keep you updated with exactly what you mentioned. What things are we looking at
Yes.
upgrading in the facilities, what that translates to,
Yes.
and making the connections in between, and what the next steps of the process look like.
Yes, good, wonderful, wonderful.
All right, thank you for having us.
Right, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. All right. So we've had an audit committee meeting, and we are going to hear about our fiscal year 2025 annual comprehensive financial report.
Take it away, Rudy and Kendra.
Good evening, Board.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And thank you. So tonight, we're going to be presenting highlights from the FY25 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. This report reflects the district's financial activity and position for the year. My name is Rudy Mayo. I'm Director of Business Services. I've had the privilege of taking the lead on the audit for the last couple of years. I've worked closely with our auditors and then also our business office team. They've made sure everything was accurately and submitted in timely. So I want to give a shout out to them. The team puts in a lot of effort and time, and they do a lot. So I want to give them a quick shout out. And then also, it's a very detailed report. I like to walk through and talk through everything in the entire document, but in a meeting like this, it'll be hard, and our goal tonight is just to really focus on the key highlights. So we'll get started with that, and I'll jump right into our overview. So as you see here, the audit committee reviewed the report in detail, and we received a clean audit opinion. That's the highest opinion you could receive, and it means that the auditors found our members and our numbers to be accurate. So tonight we'll touch on a few highlights and other important information so you can get a big picture without us reading the entire report. All right. All right, so some deficiencies and process items. Before we get started on this, I do want you all to see that these are not financial mistakes. These are just process recommendations. So for unearned revenue, one item was an adjustment to unearned revenue tied to our transition from cash to cashless in the cafeteria. We made a shift. We had to make some timing adjustments on how revenue was recorded. So this didn't change our financial position. It just ensured revenue was recognized in the correct period. So that's for unearned revenue. For capital assets, we also had a note on capital assets. We moved into a new system mid-year. We had e-finance, and then we transitioned to Tyler. That transition happened in October. So within that meant reconciling assets between both systems was a little challenging for us this year. That created some cleanup work, but now everything in the system is in one system now, and it should be good going forward for our next fiscal year audit. The next session was document retention. Document retention was another item. As more records become digital, this is something many districts continue to refine. We're tightening up our procedures here, so document retention should be something that will be good going forward for us. The next section is technology and data security. Technology and data security is something auditors are flagging across districts. With cyber attacks increasing, schools are not immune to it. So our IT team uses a layered approach like multi-factor authentication, email filtering, domain blocking, and some strong backup schedules. So those were some sections that process items that we do look forward to cleaning up here. And then for this next slide is some revenue and expenditure highlights. On this slide, you'll see revenues at about 134 million and expenditures around 142 million. That gap is what contributed to the general fund balance decreasing about 4.2 million. The main drivers behind that were higher health costs, salary increases, lower replacement tax revenue from the state. Those were all contributions to that. Those are areas we're seeing pressure across many districts right now. At the same time, we are careful in other areas like operations and maintenance spending, which helps offset some of those costs for us. So now with that, I'll hand it off to CFO Kendra.
All right.
For the next slide.
I think before I move to the next slide, I just want to further highlight, here we do have a deficit of $4.2 million that we don't take lightly, and recognize that this is a challenging time that we're navigating financially, and that, adjustments need to be made to ensure that this is not a trend for us. And so, some of this may also feel like you've heard it before, because we've been talking about a lot of this, right? Even just last month, I had an opportunity to update the board on the district's finances. And so some of the things that really came up in the audit are in line with that presentation, and that healthcare costs have gone up significantly with us being self-funded for our medical insurance. We sometimes, based on our claim experience and just the general market has been going up for healthcare costs. And so with those, we've seen significant increases there. Salaries as well have been outpacing the increase in revenue. And then CPPRT as well. I feel like CPPRT always rolls off my tongue like it's really quickly, but for that one, we've seen some volatility there. That's a tax that's collected by the Illinois Department of Revenue. They collect it from businesses throughout Illinois and then distribute it to schools and also government agencies. And so with that one, we saw where CPPRT went up pretty significantly for 3 years and then came down just as significantly. And so even from fiscal year 24 to 25, I think that was a $1.7 million decrease in CPPRT. And so we've just had a lot of pressure with these budgets, with these fiscal years that we're navigating, and that have really led to the need for us to pivot to ensure that we can get back on track with maintaining our budget at a level that allows us to be sustainable. Fiscally sustainable and accountable to the public. So I just wanted to highlight that. Yeah. Oh, speaking of funds and fund balances. So for our operating fund, with our fund balance per board policy for operating funds, so that's the education fund, operations and maintenance, transportation, and working cash. It states that for the combined funds that there should be a minimum of 33%. And so if you combine the expenditure budgets for fiscal year 26 for those funds, and then you take 33% of that, that means that our minimum fund balance should be $33.6 million just about. Right now, we're at 37.3. Sorry, that should actually be for FY25 ending fund balance. So we are within the range of the board policy minimum. However, as you can imagine, if we were to have another year like we did for fiscal year 25, we would no longer be above the board policy minimum. So we're in a situation where we have to pay attention and move accordingly. And so, of course, that has come with some difficult decisions that we are navigating, but this is almost like the report card that's showing, everything that we've been talking about is being shown here in these financials. And so I know that it's not new information, but I just don't want to shy away from highlighting what's going on here and making sure that we're able to have that discussion and have the clear understanding about why we've had to make some of the decisions that we have. And then IMRF and Social Security, from our board policy, that is 40% minimum, and so that minimum would be 1.6, and we're at about 3.3, so quite a bit stronger for those funds, but still wanting to make sure that we're paying attention to those fund balances and making sure that we're staying within the board policy minimum. Debt service fund. So our debt service fund has like our long-term debt payments, and that decreased by 2.9 million in fiscal year 25. And with that, we often see that the pattern is that it will decrease in 1 year where we do not issue new debt. However, when we issue new debt, then we would expect to see an increase in that year. So in fiscal year 25, there was no new debt issued, hence there being a decrease. This year, moving forward with the same cadence that we typically do, we would be issuing debt in fiscal year 26, which would lead to there being an increase at the end of this fiscal year. And so we know that we issue debt so that we're able to address our capital needs, because our capital needs outpace the available funds that we have. We also see that when we pay attention to the depreciation that's reported each fiscal year, where our building, when you look at depreciation of over $4 million, and then we're really only able to invest like $2 to $3 million a year based on the amount of debt that we're issuing into our capital projects, which is the case for why we receive so much support from the foundation, thankfully, in order to address some of the capital needs that we have in the building, because with our debt service fund, it's just not enough. And so in 2025, we had 1.2 million that we also transferred from the educational fund to the debt service fund in order to cover the payments for some debt certificates. And so moving on to the capital fund, that the capital fund balance decreased by 2.8 million. Sorry, this is also related to, like I said, the debt service fund, and that when we issue debt, we then use that debt for the capital fund, and so we would expect to see an increase in the capital fund in this fiscal year as well. And so the projects that we were able to complete in fiscal year 2025 include the South and West roofs, Alumni Hall, and then also some technology upgrades. And then for summer 2025, we know that we had the groundbreaking of the Studio Theater. That is still in progress right now. And then we were also able to replace a good deal of windows in the Arts and Innovation wing. And so, and then the spending for the capital fund is typically related to these is all related to these capital projects, and then the revenues for the capital fund, like I said before, will either be the debt that we issue or the money that we receive from the foundation. And so these are factors bearing on the district's future. We've gotten to talk about locally some of the challenges that we're going to continue to address, and then these are just some of the broader items as well that we're concerned about or subject to. So whether that's employment contracts with mandatory financial obligations, the state of the economy, also tax caps that really limit the amount that we're able to increase our largest revenue stream, property taxes. And then also, we got to talk about this a bit during the audit committee meeting, but just the cost of the TRS pension system and what reform may look like one day if the state were to decide that the district should pick up a bigger share of cost related to the pension system. So just things that, sometimes are tossed about that we always have to make sure that we're keeping an eye on. Opened up for questions or comments.
I look at you. well, you know, I've looked at this audit. It's really good. And one of the things that you didn't highlight were the awards. And I want to make sure, where are they? That they are highlighted. You received, you and your department, of course, a certificate of excellence in financial reporting was presented to our district. And this is really amazing. You've gotten 2 big awards.
Yes,
Is that correct?
that is correct.
And these aren't, these don't come easily. They only come to a few school districts. So I just think it's really important to highlight that. And then the certificate from, is it the Government Finance Officers Association?
GFO.
So wonderful. Congratulations
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you.
It really does speak to the fact that, you know, as Rudy was saying, this took a lot of work. This was a lot of effort, a lot of hours. You and your team spent a lot of time looking over these numbers. And the reports that we got, the rating that we got is the highest. They found a few things here, but I think really, for me, when we had our meeting, it helped me to understand that transition that we had, the accounting transition that we had, and how that that impacted us.
Right.
I remember you said you'd never do it again in the middle of the year.
No, I would not. Definitely was a learning experience for all involved.
Yeah, yeah. But thank you for that. Any other questions, John?
Yeah, I mean, the questions I had were pretty much answered in the audit committee meeting, so I won't repeat them for those in the public that are interested. I think that was an open meeting, right? So the minutes are out there, and, you know, I would love to dig back into the numbers again and tick and tie, but I know that's not for everyone, so I'll spare you that. But you know, but just as you were saying, it really echoes, you know, like, yeah, deficit is not ideal, but we found ourselves, you know, there with a very particular set of circumstances where we see our, you know, expenditures grossly outpacing their inflationary rate as compared with our income capabilities and how those are capped. So the management of the funds, I think, is absolutely in tip-top shape, and that's, you know, as related to our AAA bond rating. So, you know, it looks good. You know, maybe the county will start collecting and paying property taxes in a repeatable, timely fashion. We can all hope. But, you know, kind of getting away from that would obviously be ideal. But well done. I thought this was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat?
Well, thank you. This was helpful, and the report was really good. I just want to lift up that, you know, I think rightly, we have a great reputation, thanks to the two of you and the people that are on your teams, as a, you know, very fiscally sound organization, and we are, but we are not immune to the world, and the inflation and financial policy and the state of the economy all impact us just like everywhere else. But I think that the advantage we have is we have you who know these things and watch these things. So we knew, I mean, even though I think last year it hit us hard, we still knew where we were headed. You did not surprise us. You'd been telling us for a while where things were going, given where the economy was going and our expenses and the caps on our revenue. So as much as it's not fun, it wasn't a surprise, and it is being handled and managed really well. And you still are focusing on our values-based budgeting and the equity work. And I just need to lift that up, because there are school districts that can't pay the electric bills. You know, there are school districts not even far from us, who are struggling for the very basic things. And we are, I will use this word that I don't often, but we are really blessed to have the kind of sharpness and attention and forward thinking that you all have provided. So I just really thank you, and I just want the community to know how lucky we are to have you as individuals, as well as this kind of really deep systemic approach to watching our money and making sure we're balancing, that we're still doing the important work, but we have to do it carefully because money is not an endless resource. So you all are amazing, and thank you.
Thank you.
I think that, I think that we've been talking about some of these possibilities for a lot of years, the pension, we've been talking about that for a lot of years, but I think that with the more recent changes in administration and what we've been seeing happening in the world, these dangers just seem so close now. And as great as all of this is, we know that it could change very quickly. And so that's just a reality that I'm sure several districts, but we live with that. We live with that reality. I'm still not sure how you did it. I'm not sure how you got us through the last, 7 or 8 months. Really, how did you do that? I don't know. Don't answer. I've heard some of your answers. So, but I commend you for really pulling a rabbit out of a hat.
Indeed.
And that's almost what you did. You found a way. And for the most part, what we need to happen has been happening. Our students have continued to receive the quality education that we value so much. We've been able to continue this to support our mission and our values and lift up what we think is important. And we've been able to do that. And that's not changed. So that's amazing. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, board, for your support, because as it was said, we are committed and we are unwavering in that commitment to make sure that we're supporting students to the best of our abilities. And we know that that happens when we take care of the finances. So we're going to continue to do our work, and we'll be updating you.
Yes.
And yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I just want to say, for the record, we do plan to bring a balanced budget to the tentative, to the meeting in June. Right,
Wouldn't have it
Kendra?
another way, boss.
All right. I think, Kendra, you're staying there, right?
Yep. Right.
So we're
Right
gonna
on to the next one.
look at our fiscal year 2026 mid-year budget review. Speaking of.
All right. So we're going to be going through, right, we just discussed fiscal year 2025, the conclusion of fiscal year 2025, and already we're a bit past the halfway point of fiscal year 2026, and so we're going to go through and kind of do a snapshot of where we were halfway through the year. So it's February 9th today, but we're really discussing what that snapshot was at December 31st, because that's the halfway mark for our fiscal year. So we're going to be going through that, and what I will say as we go through this mid-year analysis, just some things that, to make the board aware of, is that this year was unique, as you can imagine, because we did not receive our property, any property tax revenue until December 28th. And we did not receive 100% of what we would have anticipated that we would have received by then. And so as a result, at December 31st, our revenues are lagging. And you'll be able to see that as we go through, we're going to kind of go through and do like the snapshots fund by fund. You'll be able to see that revenues are lagging as compared to the prior year, and not really in line with what we would have expected to see at that point. And that is in a large way attributed to the property tax revenue not coming in a timely manner. And then as a result of that, we obviously were faced with some cash flow challenges where we had to make the decision that where possible, we would defer the payment of expenditures. So, typically we are paying our invoices every week. And, our vendors love that because we get invoices in, and as soon as they're processed, if they're processed by Tuesday, they're getting paid on Friday, and it's just like clockwork, and it keeps on moving. We were in a situation where we were not really able to do that as readily. And so, we had to rely on some things like the Illinois Prompt Payment Act that gives schools 45 days to pay an invoice instead of 30 days, or, things like that. We had to start really navigating the payment of expenditures a little bit differently than we had in the past. And so while we're, doing this for December 31st, that's another thing that is lagging somewhat our expenditures. And that's because we were making some decisions about, okay, this is going to get paid, this is going to wait. And yeah, so Pat, that was one of my tricks.
Yeah,
okay,
that's how we did it, yes.
All right. I'll let Rudy kind of go through the fund by
All
fund.
right, so we'll go through some of the funds. For this slide here, the education fund. This is our largest fund, and it covers staffing, benefits, and student services. As you look at these graphs, you'll notice FY26 percentages appear lower compared to FY25. The biggest reason is revenue timing for this year, as Kendra mentioned. Cook County tax distributions were extremely late. We started receiving those funds, but mid-year snapshots don't always reflect the full year picture. So this is more about timing than a change in expected revenue. On the expenditure side, you see costs are moving as expected, especially in salaries and healthcare. All right.
Yeah, because there were some things that we could not defer, such as payroll. So.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be in front of you today, so.
None of us would be here.
No.
All right, on this slide for operations and maintenance, this fund supports facilities, maintenance, and utilities. Spending is tracking in line with expectations. Some variation year to year is seasonal, especially utilities. And similar to the education fund, the mid-year revenue timing plays a role in how these percentages look right now. For bond and interest, this fund is tied to scheduled debt payments, so it's very predictable. This one's a little different. Revenues and expenditures follow as a set schedule, so there aren't any concerns here. For transportation, transportation is where we continue to see cost pressure.
Yeah.
Vendor fuel costs have increased. There's just so much cost tied to that. But we're still in line with budget, but it's something we monitor very closely with transportation. For IMRF and Social Security, this fund moves with payroll. With staffing levels consistent, this fund is tracking as expected. So this one's pretty much in line with what we expect. For tort fund, this fund covers insurance and risk management. We budget conservatively here, and it's performing within expectations.
And I'll just add that this one is one where we typically, because you can see here that expenditures are 70.75%, or, yeah, 70.75%, and that's what we would expect because we typically make those payments in the beginning of the year. The bulk of the payments get paid usually in July, and so with that, that's why you see it so much higher than like that 50% that you might expect to see in a different fund. So just a little context on that one. And then our capital improvement fund, the revenue in this fund mainly due to donations secured through the ETHS Foundation. And then expenditures are on target with CIP, capital improvement budgeted projects, and have been primarily related to the finishing of the studio theater addition. And then we've gotten a chance to really talk about the budget concerns extensively in the audit presentation, but just to reiterate that, you know, rising transportation costs, as Rudy mentioned, increased healthcare costs that we've talked about, all of these things are things that we're keeping an eye on and trying to mitigate the effects as much as we can in order to end this year in a better position. Any questions or comments?
Board, questions? Pretty much the same.
Yeah.
It is pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at these numbers, looking at the patterns, and that last slide where we could see what's going up, the transportation, the healthcare.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just impacting all of us.
Absolutely.
So once again, thank you. Thank you for keeping us informed.
Of course.
I just so appreciate not being surprised. I've never liked surprises.
Nor do I.
Not those
Not
kind.
the, yeah.
Yeah, I guess there are some that I don't mind. Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you.
All right. Moving along on our agenda, we're at FOIAs. Dr.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes, we have 7 FOIAs. We have one from Randall, one from Miller, another one from Randall, one from Meyer, one from Kim, and 2 more from Randall for a total of 7.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, we're at board committee reports. And there's a discipline committee report in the packet. Monique was not able to be here tonight, but we've sort of heard some things from that report, even as Dr. McNeil was talking about getting feedback from the discipline committee for some of the changes that they're looking at to make in looking at tardies and other issues in our schools. So we've heard some of that. So read through that report. I'm sure you have, and if you have any questions, let us know. There was also a city schools liaison committee, and both Liz and I attended, and we will report on that next month because we may have somebody from the city coming to talk to us about some pieces of that. So we'll talk more about that next month. Yeah, fingers crossed. Yes. Are there other committee reports? Anything else? Okay, if not, we are at the student board report. Eva.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, hi. I hope you're enjoying this winter season. On January 23rd, it was very, very cold, and ETHS had an e-learning day, which I know is greatly appreciated. Most winter sports are wrapping up right now, and tryouts are starting in the next couple of weeks. I made a list: softball, baseball, lacrosse, badminton, and water polo.
Wow.
On January 30th, inspired by the protesters in Minneapolis, many students across the country, including many ETHS students, walked out in protest of ICE. At ETHS, hundreds of students left school after 4th block and walked to Fountain Square, where they protested ICE with signs and chants, and I found the collective action of our school very inspiring, and I think it was a good example of the power that student voices can have. In terms of the student union, our committees are steadily pushing along. The PE makeup policy and enforcement of IEP and 504 committees have both worked with Dr. Levy to put out surveys on their respective issues, and they are getting responses now. The Mental Health Resources Committee is working on creating an infographic about the different mental health resources at ETHS, and they're going to post that around the school and maybe put it on the Tuesday Tidbits to spread awareness about all of the amazing resources we have. And then the Della Dow Committee scheduled a meeting with the Ed Tech team, and that's happening next week, and they're going to see how they can improve Della Dow and that experience for students. And then the Tardy Rollover Policy Committee and the Public Spaces Committee have both reached out to their points of contact in the administration and are working on those issues. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay.
All right.
Dr. Campbell.
Thank you, Madam President. So there are no major updates to report this evening, but I'd like to use this opportunity to recognize the exceptional efforts of our operations team during the cold winter months. From responding to a small fire on Christmas Day to preparing and maintaining safe facilities in challenging weather conditions, their work is steady, responsive, and essential. They report on e-learning days. They report to work on e-learning days, arrive early on late start days, and work behind the scenes to ensure our building is safe and ready for students and staff. I should say our 102-year-old building is ready for students and staff. This means cleaning snow and ice before everybody gets here, salting walkways, drying hallways, sometimes all day long, common areas due to wet conditions, monitoring building systems, and taking preventative steps to ensure that pipes and infrastructure are protected during extreme cold. Much of their work happens out of view, but is essential to maintaining a safe and functional learning environment, and we're deeply appreciative of their commitment and their professionalism, so thanks to our ops team. And John was here tonight, and Kendra. It's really essential, so thank you. And that's all I have.
That's a lot. That's good. Thank you. Thank you for appreciating that and lifting that group up. Okay, we are at items for action. The first item is the acceptance of the fiscal 2025 audit report. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Martin,
Yes.
Monsell,
Yes.
Rolowitz,
Yes.
Savage Williams,
Yes. The next item is approval of resolution providing for the issue of not to exceed $17 million general obligation limited tax school bonds of the district for the purpose of refunding outstanding bonds and increasing the district's working cash fund, providing for the levy of a district annual tax to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the proposed sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
So moved.
Second?
Could I have a roll call, please?
Monsell,
Yes.
Rolowitz,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Savage Williams,
Yes. Okay. The next item is a motion that I am going to make. I move that the Board of Education approve the no-fault settlement agreement between the Board of Education of Evanston Township High School, District 202, and FOIA requester Vince Espinoza, and further authorize the board's insurance provider to pay the attorney's fees in furtherance of the settlement agreement.
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Rolowitz,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Monsell,
Yes.
Savage Williams,
Yes. The next item is the resolution for Black History Month, and I believe, wait, did I skip something? Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay, the next item is approval of resolution authorizing recall from reduction in force educational support personnel.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Martin,
Yes.
Mansell,
Yes.
Rolowitz,
Yes.
Savage Williams,
Yes. Okay, the next item is the Black History Month resolution, and Liz is going to read that for us.
Okay, I'm happy to read this resolution, and it looks like it's the 100th anniversary of Black History Month.
Wow.
So that's exciting. National Black History Month, February 2026. Whereas millions of people were taken from their homes in Africa in chains and were held in slavery, and whereas from 1619 to 1865, slavery was legal in the United States of America, and whereas 12 generations of blacks survived and lived in the United States as enslaved people with an incalculable human cost that continues to impact our society and culture. Whereas on the eve of the American Civil War, approximately 4 million enslaved African Americans lived in the southern region of the United States of America. And these enslaved people were the descendants of 12 to 13 million African forebears ripped from their homes and forcibly transported to the Americas in a massive slave trade dating from the 1400s. Whereas this forced migration is one of the greatest human tragedies in the history of the world. Whereas the celebration of Black History Month began in February 1926 with the vision of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, a noted historian committed to encouraging all people to learn about the contributions of outstanding African Americans. Whereas the students and staff of Evanston Township High School must continue to learn about and be mindful of African Americans on a national and local level who have worked to serve the public good. Whereas the ETHS community should welcome and learn from all people of color to support the destruction of beliefs and practices that racially segregate and hinder students from believing that the American dream is for everyone. Whereas the ETHS community should also continually dedicate itself to the principle of equal justice for all people, remain eternally vigilant against acts of racism and bigotry, and continue to be a leader in empowering all students through education. Therefore, we, the District 202 School Board, proclaim that in celebration of past, present, and future exceptional African American leaders, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2026 as Black History Month at Evanston Township High School.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for approval, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mansell,
Yes?
Rolowitz,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Savage Williams,
Yes. Okay, so now we're going to have the approval, or the resolution read for Women's History Month by Pat Mansell.
The National Women's History Month's theme for 2026 is Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future. In this pivotal moment of history, we are called to confront a range of overlapping global challenges: climate change, economic insecurity, healthcare disparities, and threats to democratic participation. These issues are deeply intertwined, and women, particularly from marginalized communities, often experience their impact most acutely. Yet women have also led the charge towards lasting solutions. Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future expands our understanding of sustainability beyond just environmental concerns. It encompasses financial sustainability, community resilience, leadership succession, and intergenerational equity. Whether developing green technologies, advancing economic justice, strengthening education systems, or building civic power, women are designing blueprints for sustainable transformation. This theme affirms that shaping a sustainable future means fostering systems that support both people and the planet. The goals and objectives include honor, celebrate the diverse contributions of women who are leading sustainability efforts across environmental, economic, educational, and social justice movements, educate, raise awareness about the important historical and contemporary roles of women in shaping sustainable change, inspire, empower individuals and institutions on how to take action towards sustainability, equity, and justice in their own spheres of influence, connect, build bridges across generations, geographies, and disciplines to foster collaboration, mentorship, and shared learning. Envision, encourage a long-term vision for our future where women's leadership is central to thriving communities and a healthy planet. The President of the United States has proclaimed March 2026 as Women's History Month to celebrate with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities that honor the history, accomplishments, and contributions of American women. Therefore, we, the District 202 School Board, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2026 as Women's History Month at Evanston Township High School.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for acceptance, please?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Rollier,
Yes.
Mansell,
Yes?
Martin,
Yes.
Savage Williams,
Yes. Okay, the next item is the consent agenda, which consists of approval of school maintenance project grant, approval of Arts and Innovation Wing renovation Phase 2 bid approval, approval of 2026 roof replacement bid, approval of minutes from January 12th, 2026, both regular and closed session, treasurer's report from November 2025, approval of bills, and personnel report.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Martin,
Yes.
Mansell,
Yes?
Rollier,
Yes.
Savage Williams,
Yes. Is there old or new business? Any closing or polling of the board? Any comments? If not, can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned at 9:01 PM.
Wow.